2024 Baja 1000 race recap. Ronnie said he waited for me long enough to get to San Felipe, so he wasn't waiting around for this interview. Morning of the Baja 1000. It's kind of ironic in a not funny way. It kind of started the same way it ended. We actually, not last minute, but we've had a hydraulic steering setup in our car since we built it 2 years ago. And we had a couple reliability issues with it. Not that it let us down, but a couple mid-race things we'd had to work on it. Had some fluid getting hot. So I made the decision to say, hey, let's put the stock steering rack back in the car. I know the factory team, basically everyone else other than us is running a stock steering rack. So this is a long race. It's going to be, a battle of attrition. Let's put a stock rack in it to just get rid of any kind of issues that we could have there. Then bam, morning of the Baja 1000, I go to back out of our house, no power steering. Instant thrash ensues. Obviously, we're heading to the start line of the Baja 1000, no power steering. Not going to make it all day with no power steering. So luckily, I had Dave Hegelson from Polaris that was helping us chase. He does a lot of stuff in the suspension development, and he just happened to be at this race for us. Jumps on Polaris digital wrench and plugs in and was able to reset the factory computer. So basically, I have to drive in a straight line for so long, connect to Wi-Fi. So we thrashed for 20 minutes. Boom, power steering's back on. Okay, glad that happened. Now it's out of the way. Off to Ensenada. Take the fake start, go up to the actual main start, which is at Rancho Nelson, where the race would begin. On the way to Rancho Nelson, pouring down rain out of nowhere. It wasn't in the report of weather, it wasn't in anything, and that is the Baja 1000. It just starts absolutely dumping on us, and my gloves are wet, and me and Adam just start laughing. Like literally, everyone's in the same boat. I don't know if anyone was prepared for it. So start the race a little wet, but the good thing is we started the race in 14th, and that meant some wet dirt that wasn't as much dust up there in Ojos where we started. So started 14th and took off the line, car every 30 seconds, and instantly started making some passes. I think we got around 3 cars or so fairly quick. And right between Ojos and Europan, there was a pretty gnarly hill climb. And it looked like either a 10 car or a UTV had actually tipped over on their side. And there was a couple 10 cars in line, and right when I got there, a JD who was driving Doug's car shoots up this side hill. And I'm like, well, we're not waiting in line either if UTV makes it. I follow JD, shoot this side hill. Brandon Sims, who Ethan was driving his car, they were just kind of figuring out the line, so I was able to get around them there. So right in the first 20 to 40 miles of the race, we got around 5 or so UTVs. So instantly into the top 10. I'm like, oh man, this is actually, our attrition's coming to play like a lot sooner in this race than I thought. So I knew a solid pace was going to have to be the key. And right about that time when I get into some good traffic, I start feeling something weird, and my left rear seat bolt, I don't know if it rubbed on a tool bag, I don't know what happened, but either way, it started to come loose. And I'm like, oh no, that's a safety concern, you know? So now I'm like going through into Europan, and it's a lot of like tight ups and downs through there, and I'm like moving around, and it's an uncomfortable feeling as a driver. Like if it was my co-driver, I would have stopped instantly and been like, all right, we got to address what's going on here. But obviously with it being our car and in my hands, I'm like tightened the crap out of my lap belts, and it actually tightened the seat down enough where it quit moving. So battled that for 10 miles of radioing the pit, trying to get a hold of them, trying to get text messages out, and trying to get into a clean air gap. So I'm like, hey, I don't want to run into something with a seat loose. I was able to eventually just tighten all my seat bolts down. I was able to feel around, and I knew the other 3 were in solid. So, and the bolt wasn't fully out. I just couldn't get it all the tight because of the way the tool bags were. So I'm like, okay, we'll push onto a pit and get that situated. So I was actually able to keep pushing on and make a couple more passes before getting on the road at Europan. So between Europan and Santa Tomas, I think we were the 7th UTV on the road. So that's only race mile 75. So I'm like, well, we're actually making pretty good time here. I don't want to risk any track position, so let's just keep pushing on. So I chased crews trying to flag me down. I kept going. In hindsight, I don't know if that was the best idea, but I felt safe, and I knew I didn't want to lose the track position that early on. Kept pushing Santo Tomas. I got stuck behind the Mango Racing 6100, and man, that's one of the things about racing is the dust in desert racing is so gnarly, and everybody deals with it at different times, different places in the course. And I just happened to catch a off-pace 6100 at the worst spot. So from literally Santo Tomas all the way to the beach, it's like 30 miles of fast, super fun roads. And I was going like 25, 30 miles an hour the whole way, getting frustrated, as you could imagine. In the helmet, especially having a short course background, I'm like getting so antsy, like, oh, this person not even in our class is holding us up. Luckily, we started to get to some tighter areas right by the beach, was able to make a pass. That meant clean air, and I'm like, okay. I knew we lost some time in there. We got to make some time back, and so from race mile 100 to race mile 160, I passed a couple 10 cars, but for the most part, like it was clean air, and I was just able to pin it. Super fun. One of the most fun times I've had in a desert car. We're along the beach, fans everywhere, and just able to like kind of get in a groove. So Adam was calling off all the notes, Adam Lund, my co-dog, and we were just clicking really good. The car was running perfect. And then we started to get into some more traffic here and there and just slowly picking people off before I think we got up to fifth UTV on the road. And I'll never forget this. We're coming through a speed zone right around race mile 175. There was a Toyo semi on the right-hand side. You make a hard 90 left, go up a little bit, and then a hard 90 right, 37 miles an hour speed zone before it ends. And in the second right-hander, we're in a speed zone. Drinking some water, eating some snacks, getting ready to go back, make the last right-hander. Boom! I look at Adam and I'm like, what was that? And it like locked my steering. It hit so hard. So there was a group of locals standing on the side, and you always kind of know in Mexico if you see a random group of locals or people on the side of the road, like what's right there? What do they want to see? What was the speed zone? I thought like maybe they were just, that's where they were choosing to watch from, or I didn't know, but something must have been buried in the ground because we'd pre-ran that section, and there was nothing to hit there. It was a hard road, and boom, something was buried in the ground. I don't know exactly what I hit. Like I said, I never even saw it. Adam never saw it. Boom. I instantly took the steering wheel back, and I'm like, dude, what was that? I don't know. Get going, I'm like, instantly feel a notch in the steering wheel, and I'm like, dude, I think I just broke the rack. And he's like, no way, dude, we were in a speed zone. And I'm like, I swear, like something doesn't feel right. Like I can feel like a notch, like with the teeth on the rack bar. I'm like, it feels like one's like missing or something. Sure enough, we go like 5 more miles and just instant lock up, no power steering. And that just hit me like, that's our race right here, just in a speed zone. And we kept our head up for a little bit. I'm like, okay, our next pit's at mile 210. So I drove it with no power steering from mile 180 to mile 210, where our first fuel pit was gonna be. And it was a little bit sketchy, but we kept our pace up, didn't lose any spots. Lost definitely probably some time from getting through 30 miles with no power steering at all. Pull into the pit, instantly hop out, check the fuses. I'm like, okay, it's definitely not a fuse. Jack it up, yep, steering's gone. Let's replace it. Then our second chase crew comes in. Everyone jumps in full bore, gets the spare rack out. For anyone that's worked on a Pro R or Razor, the car's almost built around the rack, and ours specifically. Ours was originally built for a hydraulic rack, and ended up putting the electronic rack back in, and it's just not one of those quick fixes. It's not an axle, it's not a tire. Like you don't just boom, boom. So we finally get all the bolts out, and I'm thinking in my head like, okay, we're gonna lose an hour making this switch. I'll have a smooth rest of the time and get the car to Ronnie. Ronnie's gonna get in fresh. Hopefully I can make up a little time. He can make up a little time. We're still looking at a podium shot. The chances of breaking a rack and still winning, those were probably already out the window. But we knew, hey, it's a long race. Let's keep our heads down, get this thing changed out in an hour of downtime. Hopefully the rest of the race is clean, get the car to Ronnie, and keep pushing through San Felipe where anything could happen at night. We'll work on the car for about 50 minutes, just get to the point where the rack goes to come out. Well, the way the rack bolts were in, they actually were hitting the front diff. So basically, we would have had to pull the whole front end apart, arms, diff, axles, to get the rack out. Then we would have had to put the new rack in, all those parts back on. So like I started adding it up, and I was guessing that our downtime was going to be around 3.5 hours. So guys start going to work on it, but my guys are awesome. They're like, never give up attitude. We're here to finish this thing, finish what we started, you know, and I'm a believer in that. But I, at the same time, had to be smart, and I felt the best decision for our team was, hey, we're there to win the Baja 1000. We're not there to get a finishing medal in the Baja 1000. Right or wrong decision, I'll never know, because I made one, and that was to put it on the trailer. I didn't want to have my guys chase through the night in Mexico. It can be a dangerous place on the highways, someone falling asleep, drunk driver. Basically, I'd be pushing my guys. When your adrenaline's up, when you're in the lead pack of the race, it's all game on. Everyone's good to go and fresh. But as soon as you're down on time and you're battling for 12th place and you're back, dangerous situation with class 11 cars, slow vehicles you're coming up on in the silt. It's not the safest move. We weren't in a championship contention. I felt bad not getting Ronnie and Cole the car because they'd done a ton of homework in San Felipe, and I knew they're fast. So even if I got the car decent amount of time, they're going to probably make some more time up on their end. So I called Ronnie, and I'm like, hey, I think this is what I think. Are you good with it? Because we'll change it and get you the car. And he kind of agreed with me. Like, we're not in this to finish 4 hours down for a participation medal in 8th. Even though I do believe there is value in that, but like I said, it was, to me, and the main reason I made the decision was, one, my car's 100% ready to go. It's fresh. Rather than blow this thing out, but more so put my guys in danger. Not having that adrenaline to fuel them through the night and pulling an all-nighter just for a participation medal. So I felt it would have been a selfish decision to continue on. Therefore, I made the decision to put it on the trailer, which was a tough one because we put a lot into this race, as does so many other teams. I mean, I think if you've raced the Baja 1000, you know how hard it is just to win one. So on that, I will say congrats to Brock Hager, who won our class. Insane. He finished 7th overall in a UTV. I remember, like 2 years ago, I told on Fish Districts that I thought that the UTVs would eventually be faster than a Class 10 car. And a lot of people gave me some flack for it. And now it's not even almost close. Like, the UTVs smash on the 10 cars every race, and they finished 7th overall. I think beat every Class 1 car, only got beat by 160-100. So incredible effort and run by him. Shows just how good these Pro Rs are. And they're really fun to race in the desert. So yeah, that's kind of a long story short, a heartbreaking end to the day. Wanted to kind of say what happened because everyone's kind of sees on Instagram, but wanted to do more of a breakdown of what actually went down out there. So yeah, broke in a speed zone, which it sounds make-believe, but it's really what happened. Ended up packing it up, but we are going to race Rage at the River. I have a kid on the way, so unfortunately I can't be driving, but Ronnie's going to race Rage at the River, and we got a new co-driver, Daniel Schenkelberg. So I made a bet with him. Can you jump in here, Dan? He's on the other side of the camera. Show your face. So pretty cool. Dan, I told him we made a bet. If he made it one year sober, that he could co-dog in this thing. He's done a lot in Baja already, so he's got it down. But made it well past 1 year, so he's going to ride co-dog for Rage at the River. Yeah, and that'll wrap up our 2024 season. So thank you to all our partners who allowed us to go down to Baja, fight. We will be back, left with our tails tucked this year, but I'm a believer that there's no excuses in racing. There's just a winner and the rest are losers. So we were a loser this time, and we'll push hard to come back stronger.